what is up, guys? So, normally on YouTube, I post my daily or weekly recaps, but occasionally I've covered ridiculous news that gets me riled up. And unfortunately, this is one of those times where I feel the need as a freedom-loving world citizen. I have to speak about and get people more knowledgeable about how insidious some governments and politicians are all over the world. So today is about coverage on something known as the 15-minute city. I have no idea what type of idiot came up with this idea, but until recently, I saw a Rebel News coverage about what's going on in Oxford in England, that I realized there's something this stupid and anti-democracy that's been discussed in the namesake of climate change, which is another topic that is completely false, completely fake, and it's just like utter bullshit. So from a not so bias-based Wikipedia, let's take a look at that and see what a 15-minute city is. So if we're looking at Wikipedia here, the 15-minute city is basically residential urban concept in which most daily necessities can be accomplished by either walking or cycling from residents' home. So even from that definition alone is ridiculous, right? Because I live in a suburban area, and no way can I go anywhere on foot in 15 minutes where I can get all my daily necessities taken care of. It's just stupid. And this completely negates the idea of, there are people who are not as healthy, they're elderly. It's just stupid just by starting there. It's just dumb, right? And of course, stupid liberal cities and citizens in places like Paris and most likely probably California in the future are going to adopt or try to adopt stupid shit like this. So I guess Paris was somehow inspired. They're trying to do dumb shit like this. But anyway, I'm not going to go through the entirety of the article. You guys can just Wikipedia it, but it's just it sounds really stupid now, just to begin, and I'm just going to stop there because it just sounds ridiculous if you have any idea of what's going on. So, ideally, the marketing, whatnot, makes this sound good, right? Except that sometimes you wrap shit in a gift box and it's still shit. So to begin, once you pause and think about this, you start to really understand how stupid this idea is, and a billion questions come to mind. But just a couple of high-level top ones are, for example, well, I mentioned about the suburbia that I live in. So how do you fit all the different amenities within a small walking distance of people? If we go to Google, for example, we can go to Google here and take a look. How fast do people walk? Okay, so most people walk around 3 miles per hour. So in 15 minutes, they're not going very far walking. How fast do people bike? Let's see. How fast do people bike? 25 to 28 miles per hour. So maybe if you do bike, but that requires some level of athleticism. So that in itself is telling you quite a lot about, how workable this stupid idea is. Doesn't take a genius. You just need to figure this fact out. And the 3 miles per hour is a healthy, normal adult, most likely. There are a lot of people who can't walk that. My mom, who recently had a stroke, cannot walk that. So ridiculous. So going back to the 15-minute city, if we look down here, okay, so walkable access to daily services, amenities, workplaces, and centrality. Well, if you really have to show up for work, I don't know how that's going to work. Are you going to limit where people are going to get a job? Because things that meet this definition are like, the gulags of the Russian communist regime, concentration camps in China where they put the Uyghurs. Let's see what else. Prison. prison also fits this framework as well. So, it's just stupid. So basically what they're trying to say, and even if you can achieve this and somehow duplicate a lot of additional resources to build, let's say, duplicate restaurants, police facilities, health facilities, and clinics, and all this stuff within walking distance, which is huge duplication, and it just doesn't make sense. You then limit people's choices, right? Are you going to put a million different Italian restaurants and Chinese restaurants and Korean barbecue places and bars and all that within walking distance of where I live? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to do that. So basically what they're trying to do is limit your freedom of choice. Kind of like, again, going back to prison. You show up at the prison cafeteria because that's the only cafeteria. You go see the prison doctor because that's the only doctor. And you go to the prison gym because that's the only freaking gym. There's no choices, right? So that's basically what they're trying to curtail free citizens of the world. Now, then there's also the idea if you're going to duplicate services, because the alternative of driving 10, 20, 30 minutes, an hour away, which is the choices that I have right now, fortunately still, what are the alternatives for people, right? Because, those alternatives are being taken away from the citizens, and now you have to duplicate the services. Now, as a entrepreneur and, someone who understands business, I think a lot of other people who are like me and thinking about you just think about how franchises select their locations. They do it based on the population it can serve, and the franchises are not walking distances from one another, right? So there's going to be a need for financial resources to actually build all these duplicate facilities. A smart business is not going to do that. So if they're not going to do that, then what you're left with is the government going to step in. They are going to then build these facilities that they would then force the citizens to go utilize, right? So again, this is a ploy by the states to increase their budget, increase the amount of people who they can control and are dependent on them. So again, as the government takes over such responsibilities, you have to think about the criminal organization known as the Chinese Communist Party. That's exactly what they're doing to their own people and to the free country of Hong Kong and Tibet and Manchuria and Inner Mongolia, blah, blah, blah. That's what, those communist countries are doing. And this is what the rest of the world is, the quote-unquote free world in the Western societies is trying to do. Insidiously. No one talks about this. I didn't hear about it. Maybe you folks have. I haven't. So what does this accomplish, right? So if we look at other places that have instituted this nonsense or trying to, like Oxford, you see that, again, it's in the name of climate change, right? Because they're getting rid of, they're getting rid of cars, they're getting rid of, all this other stuff, like gas stove, I guess, in the name of climate change, which, by the way, is something that happens all the time on planet Earth, right? We started out as a hot, molten rock of lava, and then we cooled down. We get the ice age, and then that melted. You get your tropical age, and then there's the ice age again. And then now you have today's world, and then who knows what would happen in the other couple million years. Like the Earth keeps changing, climates keep changing. The Earth also tilts on its axis, and that affects climate. So this is all a natural evolution of the planet, and people are making a big deal out of nothing. So it's just unscientific and it's just stupid. So that being said, what does this benefit? So if we look at an article here, really about what started as a genesis of this is, me looking at a video on YouTube. The link is below from Rebel News, where they talk about the 15-minute city in Oxford. So I'm just going to take some time out here just to read through how ridiculous and what this policy is, which potentially it may get started because, all these liberals, climate change freaks are talking to one another. It's an echo chamber, and this is how they get control of the populace, the people that they supposedly voted them in. Now, if you're a dumbass and voted them in, well, I suggest you lock yourself in a prison and experience what it is like, because as a free citizen, I prefer not to live in a society like this. So let's take a look, read through this craziness. And I'm not going to read through the whole article, just the beginnings, so you know what lies ahead as a potential future in your cities one day if you vote Democrat or liberal. So here in this article, the madness of a 15-minute city, the green agenda is taking inspiration from the illiberal days of the lockdown. I hope you guys still remember the fake virus, the Chinese virus, COVID. So most people would know that Oxford as Britain's oldest seat of learning, but according to the Sunday Times, it is better known to its residents for its gridlock traffic. So again, right there, you can stop first sentence. It's supposed to help climate change, but if people are stuck in traffic, not getting to where they're going, their car is still running, it's still polluting more. There's also other alternatives. I'll go back to reading the article, but the people have been told that they can't go through certain places and they have to use an alternative route, which is longer, so they have to drive more in order to get to where they need to be. It's just really ridiculous. It's dumb and it's stupid. So in past decades, town planners might have looked at this problem of high levels of congestion and drawn up plans for new and wider roads, but today planners are gripped by an anti-car ideology. Their focus is less on helping people get around than in reducing our use of cars by any means necessary. To this end, Oxfordshire County Council, which is run by the Labour, the Liberal Democrats, and the Green Party, wants to divide the city of Oxford into 6 15-minute districts. In these districts, it is said that most households' essentials will be accessible by a quarter-of-an-hour walk or bike ride, and so residents will have no need for a car. In the surface, these 15-minute neighborhoods might sound pleasant and convenient. Doesn't sound pleasant and convenient to me, but anyway. But there is a coercive edge. The council plans to cut car use and traffic congestion by placing strict rules on car journeys. Under the new proposals, if any Oxford's 150,000 residents drives outside of their designated district more than 100 days a year, he or she could be fined £70. Do not leave your allotted zone at least most of the time. That is the policy. Or it could soon be after Oxfordshire County Council decides on the matter on November 29th. Although there is a public consultation that is still ongoing, the council is likely to overrule any objections from residents. Labour councillor Duncan Enright, cabinet member for travel and development strategy, has already declared that the policy is going to happen definitely. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this sounds stupid. And here's another article. This one is about traffic filters. Again, they're setting up roadblocks for normal citizens who have not committed any crime. So roadblocks stopping most motorists from driving through Oxford city centre would divide the city into 6 15-minute neighborhoods, a county council travel chief has set. So again, this makes absolutely no sense. So let's see what he says. It is about making sure you have the community center, which has all the essential needs, the bottle, milk, pharmacy, GP, schools, which you need to have within a 15-minute neighborhood. So let me ask you this question is, what happens if you don't like that school? What happens if you don't like that pharmacy? You have no choice. That's what they're taking away from people. The aim is to reduce traffic. It's not. The aim is to reduce freedom and choice. Freedom of movement belongs to everyone. It is an inalienable right as a free person to have freedom of movement. They are not letting you have this. So let's see what else. So the new traffic filters on St. Cross Road, Thames Street, Hythe Bridge Street, and St. Clements would operate 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 2 more filters on Marsden Ferry Road, Holloway, would operate from Monday to Saturday. Now, let's see, so they talk about the 100 days. So just think about it, right? The amount of manpower that they need to staff this, to control free citizens who committed no crime again, they're not dedicating that to actually patrolling and ensuring that there is no real crime happening in, like, let's say, the inner city, the hoods. Instead, they're doing this in what I can assume is a relatively safe city, and you're dedicating resources to doing stupid stuff like this to control you. So it makes absolutely no sense. So a maximum of 3 permits a household will be allowed where there are several adults with cars registered to the address. buses, coaches, taxis, delivery vans, HEVs, motorbikes exempt from this, and so on and so forth. So again, if you think about who benefits from this, it's not just those corrupt politicians, those corrupt Democrats. It's also the big companies, right? Because now, if you're squeezing the town and squeezing out the mom and pop store, the local people, who is going to be there to deliver those types of goods and services? The choices, right? It will be the big companies like Amazon that will come in and would do that. And once they take away your choices and they have a monopoly, you're dependent on them. You become a slave. So basically, all this nonsense under the guise of climate change, in case you don't know, grifters like Al Gore apparently made like hundreds of millions playing Chicken Little. So they benefit through your text hours that control you. Hence, I want to bring this awareness to people who watch this. So if it ever comes up in your neighborhoods, your local legislations, whatever, you need to go out there and petition and be aware and fight this legally in any way you can. Because let's be real here, like I mentioned, climate change has happened in the past. We used to be a fireball, then an ice ball, and then the ocean's warm, and then there's the tropical, and then it changed in the ice age again, and then now it became today. So tomorrow, the planet will be something else. Whatever that is, we don't know, but that's nature. That's how natural phenomenon of the planets in the solar system, in the universe happen. So anyway, I hope this brings some knowledge, insight on an issue that, if it doesn't affect us, we may not be aware of it, or maybe mainstream media is covering it up. Not covering it, but covering it up, and you don't hear about it. But I want people to be aware of it, so if it happens to you, like I mentioned, go out and legally challenge these types of ridiculous ideas and ploys to get stupid people to believe in them. Anyway, go out there, buy yourself a gas guzzler. They're more fun, and peace out.